Good evening. The Police Commissioner has fought back tears as he paid tribute to a decorated officer who died in yesterday's high-speed smash at Urbray. 55-year-old Joanne Shanahan was one of two women killed when a young driver allegedly ran a red light, leaving a scene of chaos and carnage.
Detective Chief Superintendent Joanne Shanahan, decorated cop, devoted wife, adoring mother.
We lost one of our finest senior police officers.
Grant Stevens has delivered a lot of sad news in his role, but this was different. This was personal.
And sadly, the real tragedy of road fatalities has been brought home to South Australia Police yesterday.
Joanne and her husband Peter, himself a retired detective, were at the intersection of Fullerton and Cross Roads yesterday afternoon when another driver ran a red light. These are the first frantic moments that followed.
000, please.
Witnesses say the VW was on the wrong side of the road and became airborne before slamming into the Shanahan's Holden and a BMW, killing that driver too. Somehow Peter Shanahan made it out alive.
It's just so unfair and it should not have happened.
Behind the wheel of the ute, 20-year-old Harry Kitt, seen here being stretchered from the scene with shocking leg injuries. This afternoon, investigators arrived at his family's home just 2 kilometres from the crash scene to interview his parents. They're investigating if he had suffered a mental health episode here in the lead-up to the collision. Neighbours say he arrived at the house shortly before the crash in unusual circumstances, driving his parents' VW erratically onto the front lawn. A friend called an ambulance, but before paramedics arrived, Harry sped off down Cross Road. Moments later, unimaginable carnage.
I've been to many crash scenes, but yesterday was one of the most horrific crash scenes I've ever attended.
Overnight, investigators had the grim task of examining the scene from every devastating angle.
And I'm still concerned about the officers who had to deal with that particular incident.
In a career spanning almost 40 years, Joanne Shanahan became one of the force's most decorated officers. Chillingly, while serving as Acting Assistant Commissioner last year, she made this impassioned road safety plea.
We are sick of having to deliver that death message, go to that funeral, or say to someone that their father is not coming home.
But it was her work in the domestic violence field that earned her admiration and respect across the state.
She was very knowledgeable, and but when it came to work, she was a hard-working and very dedicated woman. And if it wasn't because of her, we as a state would be left behind in terms of caring for our domestic violence victims.
Grieving too, the family of 53-year-old mother Tanya McNeil, killed behind the wheel of her BMW. Her devastated husband told 7 News she was driving home yesterday after making a delivery for the family business. Their 14-year-old son was meant to go with her, but had slept in.
No one leaves their driveway thinking they're going to be involved in a serious collision. No one thinks about this being the last day that they're going to be alive.
Mark Mooney, 7 News.
And Mark, major crash investigators are tonight back at the scene.
They are, Jess. As you can see, they've shut down this intersection for a second night, essentially because the weather was so bad last night that they couldn't complete their investigation. So here they are back here now, taking their measurements, making their markings on the road as they try and piece all of this together. As for the 20-year-old driver of the Volkswagen ute, Harry Kitt, he remains in the RAH tonight with those serious leg injuries. Investigators are obviously desperate to speak with him as they try to work out exactly what happened in the lead up to the crash. That interview, of course, will be crucial to this investigation, Jess.
Thanks, Mark.
Good evening. They're alive. After almost a week missing at sea, feared dead, 2 boaties are tonight safe and enjoying a cold beer. After sparking South Australia's largest ever maritime search, the men say they didn't need rescuing. But their adventure has left police less than impressed.
With a sheepish smile and a cheeky wave, Derek Robinson's hellish misadventure finally comes to an end. How does it feel to be back on dry land, Derek?
Oh, emotional. Very much emotional.
A tearful embrace with his sons and brother. A cold beer never tasted so good.
Thanks, man.
Given up for dead, this is the moment rescue crews realised Derek and his mate Tony Higgins were very much alive and their boat still in one piece. Bobbing off the coast of Salt Creek, this is tame compared to the conditions they endured over the past week. As police towed them towards Granite Island, they were given an impressive escort, but the drama wasn't over. The boat started taking on water. Derek jumped ship, but Tony refused to leave his pride and joy.
I shouldn't ask to come and get rescued. We knew exactly where we were, mate.
They set off from Coffin Bay last Thursday. On Friday night, they phoned a friend saying engine trouble was forcing them to divert to KI. The alarm was raised Sunday, sparking a massive search, but after 4 days, it was called off at 7 last night. 3 hours later, police received the phone call they'd been so desperately waiting for. Tony's phone finally got some signal, and they were shocked to learn about the search.
I wasn't worried. Me and my deckhand, we weren't worried one way either, mate. We knew where we were going. We were just trying to get here.
With family waiting anxiously on the shore,
when I heard it, I burst out crying. I don't know if I want to hug him or if I want to go up and kick the shit out of him.
When I heard, I haven't been able to stop crying for 2 days. I've been devastated.
Derek and Tony didn't know what all the fuss was about.
I wouldn't mind actually just back off out there again, actually, after this lot.
Why is that?
Well, hey, I don't like being famous at all.
Didn't expect it, hey?
So what does a bloke who's been lost at sea for almost a week crave most? Derek says he's looking forward to a proper meal, rice or noodles, maybe a few more hugs and cans. And one heck of a story to tell. Mark Mooney, 7 News.
And we join Mark live now. Mark, Tony Higgins, he's in a bit of hot water though.
Yeah, he certainly is, Jane. Despite the events of the past week, he is insisting on staying on his boat, which is anchored here behind me off Granite Island. And as if things couldn't get any worse, he's just been slapped with a $1,000 fine after police inspected his vessel earlier today. They say they found an out-of-date emergency beacon, or EPIRB, and out-of-date flares. Police checks also revealed he doesn't hold an appropriate licence. So that celebratory beer he cracked this afternoon might not be tasting so good right about now. Still, he's vowing to repair the boat and live on it full time. Jane.
Thanks, Mark.
Good evening. South Australia's horror bushfire season has gone from bad to worse, with a well-known pilot and his surgeon son killed on Kangaroo Island. They were trapped in a fast-moving firestorm that's wiped out homes and world-famous tourist spots.
In the heart of the island, a heartbreaking discovery. Inside a burnt-out vehicle, the body of legendary outback pilot Dick Lang. His son Clayton found on the highway 200 metres away. The pair overcome, trying to outrun the flames.
Unfortunately, we didn't quite get everyone out, so no, it is unfortunate.
Late today, the Lang family issued a statement expressing their sadness. The pair had little hope of survival. The fire roared out of the Flinders Chase National Park towards Pandana. These pictures show the chaos as locals fled. The blaze was so fast and ferocious it destroyed everything in its path. The world-famous Southern Ocean Lodge reduced to ruins. There, holidaymakers and workers took cover and hoped for the best.
They sheltered in a bunker. We lost communication with them for a while, so terrifying. We thought that they were lost as well as the place.
This is all that's left of the Chase Cafe, a family business visited by tourists from around the globe.
We don't know what to do tomorrow.
Home after home destroyed, so too the Western District Sports Club.
All of the photos for 50 years, all of our male medal winners, netball winners, and just all of our records. We've absolutely lost everything. We've lost the whole lot.
Kingscote Oval has become a relief centre, holidaymakers and locals sheltering side by side.
Lots of people have lost all their houses, so yeah. Everyone just feels a bit helpless, really.
Bit eerie feeling knowing that where you were staying is sort of burnt out now.
Hundreds have now left the island on 14 ferry trips, the biggest mass exodus in a single day.
Really scary, just had to leave pretty much, didn't want to stay.
Tourists have been asked to cancel their plans. A cruise ship that was to offload passengers was diverted to Port Lincoln.
I think a lot of holiday places are going to be suffering because their tourist trade is gone at the busiest time of year.
This park is caring for burnt koalas. There are countless just like them still on the fire ground.
Definitely the worst day I've seen on the island, that's for sure.
A community on its knees, but vowing to rebuild.
You can rebuild a place, you can't rebuild people. A lot of work to do, but tomorrow's a new day.
Mark Mooney, 7 News.
And for the latest on the fire, Mark Mooney joins us live. Mark, the blaze is still raging tonight.
Yeah, it is, Elle, and while the intensity of those catastrophic conditions we saw yesterday has reduced, in fact, we've just had a couple of drops of rain in the last few minutes, this fire is very much burning uncontrolled and is posing a threat to safety tonight. And it won't be until they manage to gain the upper hand and contain this blaze that assessors and also residents will be allowed back in to see the damage for themselves. From what we've seen from the air, though, the damage is considerable. At the moment, it's just too dangerous to access this fire ground. Several roads have been blocked off by fallen trees. And in just the last hour, the community has learned that devastating news. The identity of the victims, 78-year-old Dick Lang and his son Clayton. They had a farm on the island and are extremely well known around here. The pair had been fighting a fire nearby for a couple of days and were returning to the farm when they were overcome. Officers say they've received no other missing persons reports, so it's hoped the death toll will not rise, Elle.
Well, now let's check back in on the firefight on Kangaroo Island. Mark Mooney is there. Mark, the blaze has so far destroyed a third of the island.
Yeah, that's right, Elle. It is a staggering figure, isn't it? And the worst part is the full extent of the damage isn't yet known and probably won't be for days or even weeks. Tonight, the blaze continues to be fought on the western side of the island. Power is out to that region and residents have been warned Kingscote and Penneshaw are the only safe places to stay. Some are camping at Kingscote Oval for a second night. They still don't know if their homes are even standing because it is simply too dangerous to enter this fire ground. From the air, you really get a handle on the extent of the devastation here. Perhaps the most remarkable pictures from the fire are these of the world-famous Southern Ocean Lodge operated by Dick Smith's daughter. People would come from all over the globe and fork out a minimum of $2,000 for a night. Now it's just rubble. In the coming days, the extent of the damage will be known. It's believed up to half of the island's koala population has been wiped out. Today, farmers trawled paddocks, putting down tens of thousands of suffering animals. In fact, while we've been here tonight, we've heard those gunshots going off. It is just devastating. As we know, tourism and agriculture are the lifeblood of this economy, and they've both been wiped out by this week's events. Elle.
Good evening. It's feared dozens of homes have been lost in the Kangaroo Island bushfire, but authorities warn it'll be days before the full extent of the damage is known. Tonight, Defence Force personnel are on their way to help with the painstaking recovery as more incredible stories of survival emerge.
Trapped in his own home, this is the moment Simon Kelly surrendered to the Kangaroo Island inferno.
Rip it out the front.
He and his two sons had done all they could to save the home, then hoped it would return the favour.
Flames and embers just flying sideways to the ground everywhere.
While they made it out alive, most of their sheep didn't.
We had 10,000, we've got about 2,000 left.
Either killed in the blaze or put out of their misery in the days since. Today, an army of mates arrived unannounced to lend a hand with this grim task.
You know, it's a community, get behind each other and we're all here to help.
Residents are finally being allowed back to their properties. Many, like Jill Locke, are now homeless. A coin collection is all she could salvage. Up the road, Chris Wyndham lost his shearing shed and was sure his home would be gone too.
Very lucky, going from complete devastation to not a eureka moment, but it's nice to know the house was still here.
While properties can be rebuilt, lives cannot, and the fires claimed two of them. Popular Outback pilot Dick Lang and his son Clayton became trapped in their car trying to outrun the flames. Desert Dick, as he was affectionately known, is being remembered as a pioneer, a modern-day Indiana Jones.
Everyone loved him. He was a great character.
Clayton Lang was one of Adelaide's leading plastic surgeons.
I see it as a young man who was on his way to a career that has been cut short.
Late on Friday night, as the blaze raged across the island, a friend called in here to the Lang family's property to tell them it was time to think about leaving. Dick's wife Helen was here on her own. She was waiting for him and Clayton to come home. They never made it.
I feel so desperately sorry for Helen and his family.
This afternoon, the Premier was briefed on the massive recovery effort that lies ahead.
This will have a devastating effect on the environment, but also on the economy of the island. That's why we're moving as quickly as we possibly can to get the recovery underway.
Up to 100 Defence Force personnel are on their way to assist. This crushed community will need all the help it can get. Mark Mooney, 7 News.